Over the past 200 years, the Willamette ecosystem has changed dramatically. Unlike the climax Douglas fir forest that we see today, the Willamette Valley was dominated by oak savanna prior to the 1850s. It was encouraged by a regime of regular disturbance controlled by the Kalapuya Indians. Shown in the diagram, fire prevented reaching succession to a climax Douglas fir forest. And shown in this picture, the Kalapuya Indians were responsible for managing the low-intensity, medium-frequency fires that maintained oak savanna. Oak trees, unlike Douglas fir trees, are resistant to fire due to their harder wood. The range of the Kalapuya Indians overlaps almost completely with that of the natural oak savanna habitat in the Willamette Valley. Here we have a video of a controlled burn in the present day practiced just outside of Salem. Controlled burns are an excellent way to encourage the native oak savanna and get rid of invasive plants like the Himalayan blackberry.
A good 150-year-old oak. In the vein of Leopold's cutting down his oak, we decided to continue this tradition and examine one oak cross-section. Pictured here is his shack from which he wrote Sand County Almanac. To keep every cog and wheel is the first precaution of intelligent tinkering. Using dendrochronology, we are able to analyze changes in both the tree and the surrounding climate. Here's a picture of Professor Craig with a cross-section of an 150-year-old oak that was recently cut down in Pringle Park. This slide shows a section of shots across the tree's cross-section, with each pen mark denoting 25 years.
Our tree was born just 1 year after Oregon was founded in 1859. Would have seen the introductions of starlings to Oregon in 1889. In 1919, our oak would have seen the introduction of the eastern gray squirrel. Our oak would have seen the extirpation of grizzly bears in 1933. In 1946, wolves were also extirpated from Oregon. In 1970, Lewis's woodpecker was also extirpated. In 1989, the rediscovery of the Fender's blue butterfly.
Here are two old pictures of Salem. The first, in Bunker Hill Road in 1915. We can still see remnants of oak savanna over the burgeoning town. In the second picture of the Capitol building in 1948, the oak savanna has been obliterated by urban sprawl. Trees such as the sugar gum and other non-native trees have been grown, but the landscape is mostly covered by brick buildings such as our university.
The original ecosystem of the Willamette Valley is very different from what it is today. Here's a sample diagram of how a food web works. Each arrow denotes the flow of energy, and at each trophic level change, 90% of energy is lost as heat. The original primary producers are pictured here in the Oregon white oak. Primary consumers include the western gray squirrel pictured here. Secondary consumers include the wolf. We chose this particular picture because humans were also the cause of the local extirpation of the wolf. The last wolf in Oregon was killed in 1946. Species that were more common that are now completely gone or much more rare include the Roosevelt elk, grizzly bear, beaver, and mountain lion.
Now, the following species have much higher populations or are entirely new to the region. The new ecosystem, the one that we see today, includes Himalayan blackberry and other invasive species, which are completely new to the region. The invasive nutria, which is also completely new to the region. We see the eastern gray squirrel, which was introduced in the 1950s. The ever-common raccoon, which was present in the region before, but not to the same degree that it has adapted to the urban environment that we see now. We see Douglas fir, which is either planted by humans specifically for its high-value wood or by outcompeting oaks due to the lack of fire, which has significantly increased in population in the last 150 years. And other species that depend upon trees like the Douglas fir, such as the western scrub jay. And of course, the landscape is now dominated by Homo sapiens, the population of which has boomed in the last 150 years.
Currently, oaks are limited to a few areas in Salem. One, pictured here, is at Pringle City Park. Another, outside the UAPS. This one is outside of Professor Craig's house and has been designated as a historical landmark in Salem. These are found in the parking lot at the university in a way that almost mimics the oak savanna of old. And here we see the Oregon white oak growing around a nail that was hammered in. A single isolated tree is a habitat magnet, DeMars said. It allows birds to persist in that field that otherwise wouldn't be able to.
The future of the oak savanna has yet to be decided. One option is for there to continue remnants of the oak savanna left in developed locations. Another is for it to exist on the outskirts of agricultural lands. A third option, pictured here with the beaver, would be for the express conservation of the original ecosystem and reversion to the oak savanna. If the 49ers are worth commemorating on the walls of state capitals, is not the scene of their mighty hegira worth commemorating in several national prairie reserves? Aldo Leopold.